Hello, and welcome back to Sacred Wellness. This is a space where we explore healing, awakening, embodiment, and the deeper truth of who we are becoming. Today's conversation is going to feel expansive, it's going to be activating and deeply remembering. If you have been feeling a pull, this is for you. More truth, more alignment, more soul expression. Because today we're talking about soul activation, remembrance, and stepping into your full power. This is right up my alley. This is my jam. I want to welcome Dani to the show today, who is a soul activator and grid worker. She believes our soul frequency is unconditional love, and when we embody this vibration and integrate it into our lives, is when we transcend the density of the third dimension. I love that so much, Dani. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Terry, and it's such an honor to be here.
I'm happy to have you on. There's so much to talk about and so much to cover in a short time. I want to jump right in. First, I want to talk a little bit about soul activation for someone who's listening today and they may not know what soul activation is. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. It's about remembering who you are on a soul level when you came and reincarnated in this life before you were influenced by your parents, before you were influenced by your religion, your location, and all those things. And so, how I see it is we come into this reality with certain, let's say, soul contracts, soul lessons and experiences your soul wants to have here because I see it as your soul just wants to evolve and learn and grow and play. And so we tumble into this life, this beautiful life with amazing people who are typically part of our soul family. And so what happens is we create this conditioning, limiting beliefs. We create a narrative or a paradigm within ourself, within our world, within our reality, and we begin to live out of that. Before the age of 7, 97% of what you learn and how you move through life is learned and conditioned into your being in your subconscious before the age of 7. And life is about unraveling that and re-remembering your gifts and your connection to source, God, universe, whoever you resonate with, and really coming back to that part of you that wanted to do things before they were scared, the part of you that wanted to do things before they were uncomfortable, before they were embarrassed, before they had the self-doubt or the self-worth issues. It's like that part of you and coming back to that. So soul activation is coming back to that energy of your sovereignty, remembering your power and remembering who you are from that view of just curiosity and play.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's so true. Often, one of the biggest questions I get is, why do we forget in the first place? And I asked that originally too when I was first learning. I was like, well, why did we forget? And we had to forget for specific reasons because obviously you wouldn't have done it. I think back to my ex-husband and I'm like, no, I would have ran the other way. There's no way I would have did that. So can you talk a little bit about why we do forget in the first place?
Yeah, so Earth, we are in the 3D. So most of the galaxy is not in the 3D. We are in this like lower vibrational state. And I say lower because just it's like physical, right? We can feel
Hmm.
where when you are, and we're moving into the 4 and 5D, right? Which is like beyond time and space. And in most galaxies, right, or most planets are, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so here we've come for a specific mission and we've come to really the soul created itself. The soul was created to evolve and to learn and to grow. And so we start at source consciousness, right? We're in that belief of like God is within, universe is within, right? Source is within, and to connect to that part of us. What I believe is we were created and collective consciousness was created first. So this is like the planets, right? This
Hmm.
is the collective consciousness. Then from there is individual consciousness. So that's I, we, you. And from there, we come to this space, which is Earth, where we don't know that there's collective consciousness. We don't know anything beyond it. It's very individualized, and we're like, it's I against you or me. And what the goal is of life is to come back to the energy of who we were, which is like collectively, we are all together. We all love each other as brothers and sisters or neighbors, right? Like moving into that energy of unconditional love and acceptance. But our soul just wants to evolve. So, like the good experiences and the bad experiences, it might feel really hard in the beginning, but the point of it, right, is to how can you overcome it in the best way possible so that you can find ease, peace, flow, and harmony in your life after. And so when you are able to expand your consciousness through reflective introspection of all the lessons and experiences you have, you are actually just achieving what your soul came here to do in the first place.
Yeah, I love that explanation. Thank you. When I started doing past life regression too, I think that helps a lot of people understand too, because it takes them back through their own experience of going through that and sort of being able to see and understanding at a different perspective, a higher perspective, rather than just a human perspective of, this is what my life is. Why would I sign up for that? I had a son that passed at 27, almost 7 years ago, and I had just started learning about soul contracts and past life regression. And through that experience, we learned so much about the contracts that we made in another space and time that led me to go through the experience of understanding at this bigger perspective. There's a bigger, role at play that we both chose to have before we came here as Anthony and Terry Ann. So that definitely helped me. And I know a lot of my clients feel the same way. Why am I this way? Why do I feel like this? Why do I act like this? And when we go back through spiritual hypnosis, we can start to understand it. Is Akashic Records similar to that experience?
Yeah, so past life regression is so beautiful because you are accessing it through this, it's like the super conscious, right? Where Akashic Records is beyond the astral realm, it's in the spiritual realm. And I would say the superconscious is similar to your higher self,
Mm-hmm.
where you access it through meditation and you aren't facilitated by it with like a facilitator, but you just kind of elevate up to the space of collective cosmic wisdom. And so the Akashic records are the records of all souls that ever existed, past, present, future. So I would say it's very similar, but I think maybe like the technique,
Mm-hmm.
maybe to access it might be a little different.
Right. No, thank you for clarifying that. I love that you channel cosmic and galactic frequencies, which is so fascinating. When I began doing the work that I did, I was living in Sedona, and so I had tons of experiences with galactic frequencies back then. And honestly, quite honestly, I thought I was losing my mind at the time. It was very natural for me to like see spirits from when I was a child, but now I'm going to talk about seeing galactic frequencies and what the hell is that? So, can you talk a little bit about what that means, who they are, and why a lot of us now are having those types of experiences?
Yeah, so I am deeply connected to the galactic, and there is a streamline of like how the world, the universe was created. And so how I see it is God consciousness created, the Blu-rays and the blueprinters. So the blueprinters can also be known as like the Andromedan galaxy people. And then the Blu-rays, which I am, is part of like archangelic consciousness.
Hmm.
So from there, came planets like Lyra, Vega, Andromeda. So all these different planets that may exist now, may not exist. Lyra no longer exists. Orion, and there's all these other planets, right? And so your soul starts at the highest level of incarnation, God consciousness. And it works its way down to Earth, works its way down to the underworld, works its way down to like zero, and then works its way back up. So that's how I perceive or how I see the soul line.
Hmm.
And so here we're either going to ascend after this back to source, or we're going to descend to the underworld. And the reason why these are coming online right now, right, is because we're moving paradigms, we're moving energies, we're moving from the old earth conditioning paradigms into this new earth energy, which you might have heard that term, right? It's like
Hmm.
and I know but it's like the moving into the space where you are more reflective of these experiences, these
Yes.
lessons. You are connecting to God, source, universe. And so for me, I know my purpose here is to activate, to help activate others who are meant to make impacts and influences on this planet through, for me, it's my voice. That's my biggest wounding, communication. That's why I'm trying to be
Me
on
too.
podcasts. Yes. And the heart, which is unconditional acceptance and
Yes.
love for all. And
Hmm.
so through that, I have met my Lyran guides, my Vegan guides, my Sirius guides, my Mintalking guides. And for me, if you believe in past lives, right, which I'm sure, with your audience, it's that sense that not all the lives aren't past or future, they're all parallel lives happening at the
Yes.
same time. And so there are these energetic aspects of us that are living, coinciding in different dimensions that are happening right now. And so this support system is so invaluable to help us expand not only our consciousness, understand how the world works more. I feel like I'm very
Hmm.
much like a mad scientist, and I want to know like, why am I here, and why was this, and why why am I, going through these experiences? And so by connecting to these other galactic energies, these other aspects of me, these past lives, it's helped me not only understand more of me, understand the karma that I've created here, but also help me anchor into my purpose of really like what
Mhm.
I'm here to do. And I know that don't have to do it myself. That was like a huge
Yeah.
transformation I had where I was like, I'm alone in this world. No one gets me. This is like, the weight of the world is on my shoulders. Where now I have all these guides, galactic, non-galactic, angelic, spirit animals, elementals, dolphins, I have all these guides that come now and support me, and they're my Akashic council. And they support me whenever I have any questions with life, need clarity, in making a decision. And so it's for me, it supports me in connecting deeper to myself and that love that I have been searching for all
Yes.
my life.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like, because when you were young, I don't know if you had this experience, but this was my experience. I was very curious. So I began things and I ended things and I didn't always finish things. But that was the way that I learned, right? That was my learning way. But as a child, I was sort of ridiculed for that because it wasn't, you're supposed to finish what you start. But that was the way that I learned. I was also extra sensitive. Did you ever hear that? Extra sensitive, daydreamer, curious. All of those labels, I think that you mentioned, they get stuck in us. And as we're coming up and we're changing, and you're right, I've been saying this for years, the energy is so ripe now for the change that's coming. And that's why I believe that, the ones that are already here are changing. The children that are being born are so extra sensitive, because that we need that energy as we're expanding into the new earth. But did you have similar experiences when you were a child of that conditioning?
Absolutely. Like the energy of, yeah, being too much. And I'm a fire starter as well. So it's easy for me to start, but then it's like to finish is quite challenging.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about claiming your power. I think Reiki plays a role in this as well because when I began my Reiki journey, it really was a way for me to sort of that 21. I think everyone, this is my opinion, should do Reiki 1 and learn the power of self-healing. If not for anything else, but to do it for yourself. And I think Reiki awakens so much in people. And I don't think when you're starting the process, you really understand what's going to occur while you're going through that process. Can you explain a little bit how Reiki plays a role in us claiming that power within us?
Oh my goodness. For me, this is very deeply rooted in who I am and where I am because Reiki changed my life. I was searching my whole life for that thing that brought me fulfillment, and I thought it was career. So I switched careers 5 times in like 5 years, got a life coach, I was trying to figure out like what's going to make me happy in life. But I realized I was only seeing and experiencing the seen physical world. So when I found Reiki, I found that there was this unseen, untapped world I had never accessed.
Yes.
And I know with allopathic medicine and how we are in the States, it's like very, like there is no root cause. There's like you're very symptom based. And it's kind of disempowering how the system can be. And so for me, I had chronic back pain in my 20s. I was in 2 car accidents. My car was totaled,
Wow.
and I really felt like that was spirit urging me to heal myself. So I had chronic back pain. I was also trying to play basketball, trying to backpack, and trying to do all these things that my body was just like, it wouldn't do. And so I've really had to learn that. I would go to chiropractors every day, and I remember a chiropractor was like, "You're never going to be healed," and I just felt like that was so wrong. Like in my body, I was like, "She's not right. Like that's no way." And so, Reiki was the first step I took to really understanding that I can heal myself,
Hmm.
that physical pain, 100% of my physical pain, and what I do believe physical pain is, starts from an energetic root. And I'm reading The Subtle Body right now by Cindy Dale, and she talks about that all vibration, all energy is vibrational, and it all impacts or imparts vibrations onto other particles, which is all about everything is energy. Everything has an energetic root. So for
Yeah.
me, a lot of the trauma I had held in my body of, how I was raised, what I was told, how I felt like I needed to be in the world was all being held within my body. And Reiki helped me, open the meridians within my body, clear that energy, allow the energy to flow as it should, like a river through your body. And so that was really a portal for me into healing myself completely. After a 7-year journey in 2022, I've been officially free of any back pain. Of course, there's
Wow.
still moments of that, right? But it's not this
Sure.
chronic long term. And now I understand like there's when I tune into my body and I actually give myself spaciousness to listen and I give
Mm,
my body the energy healing and what it really needs to nourish it, my body's working for me, not against me. And the wisdom that it carries is so powerful. Your body is the unconscious. So when you tap into that space, it's so powerful.
mm.
And I use Reiki every single day as, a highly sensitive person and an empath and someone who works with people. My energy needs to be clear. I need to be a vessel for this cosmic divine wisdom. And I use Reiki every single day. I think it's one of the most powerful energy modalities. And I agree, the more people who vibrate at that frequency at Reiki, at least Reiki level one, they are connecting to that universal life force energy. And it's so powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I just did a post today about Reiki energy and being a clear channel and what it requires. And, I think as you move along your path on Reiki too, we're in that space of doing, but then we eventually come to a place of being, right? It's just very natural. People will ask me, well, what do you do every day? How do you do this? And what does it look like? And I'm like, well, it's different for everybody. I may do Reiki every day. It really depends on what I feel when I tune in. But the body often, this is one of the big topics I discuss more and more every day, is about the body and how disconnected we are from our body, how turned off we are from our body. Nobody wants to feel. I was raised in the era where you don't feel things, you just shove it all down. So, that it's being brought to the surface now and talking about. But for someone who's just beginning this journey, what's one little step they can sort of take to begin connecting with their own soul guidance?
Yeah, follow your curiosities. That energy, what you're saying, that doing, that was a huge wound of mine that I have to produce or I have to be doing something to be
Yes,
worthy.
yes.
And so do something that isn't going to bring you money or bring you like an achievement. Just do something for fun that your heart really desires and don't put pressure on it.
Yes.
Like, so for me, I wanted to help people, right? I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know where to start. So I was
Hmm.
like, I'm just going to start posting on Instagram. Let's just see, like, let's play. And then, you get momentum, you start getting clients, and then it just 3 years later, it builds. And now I'm teaching the Akashic
Hmm.
Records, I'm teaching Reiki, and it's wild. So just try, like, just do follow that curiosity and continue on that way. I think it's so powerful.
Yeah, I love that. I think many of us forget to live in the joy, the tiny little moments, to have fun, right? I mean, do you remember going back to your childhood and do it? I always say, do it brought you joy. What did you enjoy doing? Even if that's playing in the mud or jumping in a puddle, right? If you do it now at this age, you'll see still what joy it brings you. And it just creates that momentum or that space for other things to come in. People say, how does that work? Or what does that look like? You have to take your logical mind sort of out of that space because there's no room for the logical when we're going through this process, right? Danny, I want to thank you so much for bringing your depth and your activation and your beautiful remembrance into the sacred wellness space. Is there anything else you can share with us from the Galactics that they would want us to know today?
Yeah, it's what they're saying is that like everything that you desire, everything that you can see in your mind's eye of what you want your life to look like, there's a reason why that's there. That imprint is there in your heart, in your mind, and follow it and trust it because you need 100% conviction for your life. And this is funny. The Taylor Swift Eras tour, the first episode, I remember she's like, you need to believe in yourself more than anyone around you to
Yes.
get to that space because everyone will tell you and project onto you their own wounding. And you have to understand that's not yours. And
Yeah.
so just you are so powerful, you are worthy, you are enough, and you can really create the life of your dreams.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. This conversation definitely feels like an invitation for you. I want you to like, share, and follow and comment. And I will share all the links in the description to be able to connect you with Dani today. If this resonates you and if you're on the path for awakening, remember that soul remembrance is part of our birthright, right? We came here to learn, grow, and evolve. And anything outside of that doesn't really matter. In the end, it's all about our soul's growth and what our soul wanted to do when it came here. So I thank you, Dani, for joining us today. And I would love to connect with you again and go deeper. So thank you, everyone, for coming in and listening to Dani and I today.
Thanks.